Howdy, everyone, and welcome. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the first ever, well, kind of historic, I suppose. It's a world premiere of Monarchs Live. Coming to you next in 3, 2, 1. How about let's roll the new open as well? You guys looking forward to this? I am. Let's roll it. Let's roll that open. Here we go. You know, I kind of feel like I should be wearing like one of those cool jazzy looking hats, maybe, and kind of just grooving in the background, maybe just with a, I don't know, I'm feeling like a real black suit with a thin tie, maybe just kind of some shades, kicking it in the corner. There you go. That's a new open. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yes. Glad you guys are along on a Wednesday. It's Monarchs Live. Apology in the background, and I don't think it's coming through the audio, but for some reason in the DFW, they decided to test the civil defense sirens right at high noon on a Wednesday, which I always thought it was Tuesday. Isn't that kind of how the government works? They say it's going to be on Tuesday, and then we'll just do it Wednesday. I think they're just now ending up. But glad you guys are along. Good to see Bobby out there, Brad, GM, of course, down in class. Morgan, big tip of the cap to her. Hope you guys are doing well. We've got a good one. If we're going to have a lineup card like this, I mean, the first kind of world premiere show, you need to have the proper leadoff hitter, cleanup hitter, whatever. Lineup card today looks pretty solid. We're going to do a little something new. I'm kind of taking the Wednesday's Wisdom segment, which we're still going to have here and there, but I'm kind of working on some concepts. One of them is called Monarchs 101 with DV, and I'm going to put on professor's cap and kind of dive in. I loved in college history. That was my thing. That was, besides the broadcast media classes, history was my, really throughout junior high and high school. That was the subject I flourished in. I took a really cool class in college at Tech on baseball and sports. And so a lot of the Negro League things I already kind of knew, but not to the knowledge of really diving in. And I've been diving in myself. I'm currently doing this, juggling 3 books at one time, 2 of which are Monarchs related, and diving in. And we're going to do some things as the season gets closer, broadcast-wise, to kind of celebrate the museum and the history and all that. We're going to all educate ourselves. And so I'm learning too, even though I'm kind of leading the class here, but we're gonna do a little of that today, a little Monarchs 101. I'm going to tell you about the first, and it seems fitting to talk about it, the first championship week in Metro Kansas City back in the 1920s. We'll talk about that. It kind of seems appropriate on this week, on a run it back week for the Chiefs Kingdom. All right, what else we got here? We also got a few news and notes, mostly things related to the ball club that we've kind of talked about a little bit. We're going to kind of continue to visit those things, memberships, host family as well. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But the biggie, the cleanup hitter, the big Bambino in the middle of the card, he's the guy. Joe Pietra is going to join us, and looking forward to this conversation. He's been busy, hard at work. It's interesting to watch the different teams in the American Association currently. For example, Winnipeg, in their defense, a little slow start because of the fact, they got a lot of border restrictions, still have border restrictions in Canada, coming back and forth. Of course, the team played as nomads last season, so they're a little behind roster-wise at the moment, but they're starting to plug some folks in. Our mates in Cleburne have been signing folks left and right. And so it's been fairly busy. Saw the Railcats made a few signings, odds and ends here. Fargo's been busy as well. And, of course, your Kansas City Monarchs are very busy. And Joe's going to give us some insight to that and the plans going forward and get us updated on the roster. So that's what we got today. Eric, good to see you as well. Bobby, as everybody else. By the way, thanks for the well wishes. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm getting there. Okay. Wife and I, in case you have not seen it, don't follow us on our various channels, had the boom, the COVID punch in the face. Not a good punch, folks. Okay, without further ado, let's jump on into it. Joe Cathpietra, and I love saying Dan Vaughn, voice of the Kansas City Monarchs. How about Joe Cathpietra, manager of the Kansas City Monarchs? Here we go. Well, as promised, here he is, the manager of the Kansas City Monarchs. Boy, that just sounds so cool. Joe Cathpietra, welcome to the show. Joe, first off, how you doing? Been a while. You staying safe?
Yeah, everything's going well here, Dan. Just trying to, stay safe and keep the family safe and continue to work on the ball club.
Kansas City Monarchs. You're now the manager of the Kansas City Monarchs. Your initial reaction to the rebrand and the announcement of the Monarchs, from where you're sitting, what was your reaction? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool just to be a part of that tradition with the name of the Kansas City Monarchs and how much they meant to not only baseball, and especially the city of Kansas City. Such a historic name, historic players that have played for them, and just an honor to be a part of that name. It's kind of almost surreal.
You're the manager of the Monarchs. It sounds kind of cool. Doesn't that sound kind of cool?
Cool.
You are the Kansas City Monarchs manager. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is.
The new branding, how does that affect you in your player procurement? I mean, as you go about your business, putting together a team, does the Monarch thing affect you one way or the other in this player procurement process?
I mean, no, I don't feel that it's going to. How I've always built our clubs was off of talent. We obviously have different classifications and different things that we have to adhere by the salary cap and things like that. So we're going to go out and we're going to get the best players that are available and try to put a championship team again on the field.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was saying in some recent hot stove shows. Your philosophy was there. I mean, it didn't matter really wherever you've gone. You've got a certain way you put together a team. It's great to the Monarch name. It's a great thing, but you're still going about your business like you always have.
Yeah, I don't think that will change. I hope that never changes. I mean, that's who I am and what we try to do. And I feel that's why Kansas City, embraced me when I came here, because they felt confident that I was going to put that kind of team together. We want very good players and we want very good people. And we want that clubhouse, and when they go into the communities and at the ballpark, that everyone's happy with, they're proud of, and not only their ability on the field, but what they could bring off the field, and just being, respectful people. And that's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, we've talked about that so many times in the broadcast, you and I in our pregame shows. It's the good people. It's those quality people. And I think of a guy that you just brought in. I'm kind of jumping a little ahead here, but the smile on his face of Darnell Sweeney. That's a classic example of the kind of player, hell of a ball player, but even better person. I mean, that is your philosophy right there. I mean, Darnell Sweeney might be the case study of how you put together teams.
Yeah, I mean, Darnell Sweeney's that guy. I mean, he is, the guy that we want to build, our baseball club with those kind of people and obviously those kind of players. So we were very happy. We didn't have him very long when we had him in 19,
Right.
but he was impactful not only on and off the field. He was a special person and obviously a special player. So we're happy to have him back. And, we're looking forward to the players that we're going to be able to put around him and continue to grow this thing.
as you put these players together, a lot has changed. Not just obviously, 2020 was the pandemic year. We're still carrying that over into 21. But there's also major differences in the way the game is business is done now. Major League Baseball has contracted. They basically took over the minor leagues, contracted, brought those teams. Some teams are gone. Some leagues are folded. There's been, college leagues sprouting up here and there. All these changes in the major and minor league relationship, how has that affected how you go about your business?
Well, we really don't know yet. It's really unseen how this whole thing's going to play out. There are different players available earlier than there were in years past. So, there's some players that have popped up that typically wouldn't be interested in signing March, April, getting up to spring training. They were ready to pull the trigger a little sooner. We don't know how this whole dynamic is going to play out, when Major League Baseball is going to go into spring training, when the minor league players are going to report. So the timing of the trickle down, we really don't know. Going, like you mentioned before, going at our business like we always do, it might be accelerated a little earlier or sooner than normal dates in the past. But those same kind of players we're looking and targeting, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah, I would think too, there are fewer jobs now at those levels for these guys who want to get back and chase their dreams. And something you and I talked about, the idea is to get these guys to chase their major league dreams. Fewer opportunities now. That should bode well for you where you sit.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys out there, that's for sure, but we still have our classifications that we have to adhere to, and the salary cap and things like that. So it's, we still have to put that puzzle together. We can't sign 20 Darnell Sweeneys or Ty Kelly that we recently added to the roster. So we have to put the different pieces together, and hopefully it fits.
Manager Joe Capietro, those Kansas City Monarchs. Dan Vaughn with you here on our Wednesday show. First of the year, first of the offseason, talking a little Monarchs baseball. You mentioned Ty Kelly. One of the things I love about when I get these names sent to me and I get your quotes is my CSI. I dive right into investigative reporting. My journalism thing takes over. I dive in, and dang it, I was so excited to see Kelly. Not only was he a big leaguer, but he also is Olympian, has a chance to play with, Team Israel. This is a very interesting fella. What can you tell us besides that? I mean, what kind of kid is this guy? He seems like, on the outside, whatever I've seen, that Ty Kelly is going to be a phenomenal guy that Monarchs fans are going to love to get to know.
Yeah, I believe so. He's a special person in all of our conversations. He's one of those guys. He's a pro. He's a pro, and he's been around, and so excited about this opportunity to come into Kansas City and help us. And he is planning on playing for Team Israel in the Olympics, which I think is just such a cool story.
Yeah.
And then hopefully after the Olympics, come back and help us win a championship if he's not back with a major league affiliate.
No doubt about it. Other guys looking at the most recent addition, Kevin Santa, young man out of Puerto Rico. Looking at he went to school down at Tampa, Division I kid, but it seems to be the versatility right there. I mean, looking at where he played position-wise, he's played dang near everywhere, and he's also played dang near everywhere as well as far as classification where he fits. What can you tell us about the new signing in Kevin Santa?
Yeah, he is a guy that's extremely flexible position on the baseball field. He's versed at third, short, second. Very, very good defensive player. And we have a lot of very good defensive players. Going back to Ty Kelly, there was a point in his minor league career that he had 2 years without an error. And I still can't find an error that he made in the major leagues, which is remarkable. I'm digging to see if this is a typo, because I can't believe when I looked at it and I saw it and I looked at it again and I shook my phone like there's something wrong here. And then I shook my head to think my eyes were playing tricks with me. But a guy with that ilk, and Santa's obviously not on that level because he's a younger classification player, but a very good defender, gets on base a lot and things like that. And it seems like he's going to be a nice fit moving forward.
Versatility's key. You got to have it. For you, and we talk about this a lot on our hot stove updates with the fans, it's huge to have guys that can play multiple positions because it just allows you more flexibility in your pitching staff. You're not pigeonholed. You can carry an extra arm if a guy can play 2 or 3 positions. That's huge for you. Almost as more, besides having rookies, obviously, are very important to contribute. Versatility is probably the most important thing you have to do to, or you need to put your roster together.
Yeah, the versatility is important. Even more so when you lose players during the season due to, getting signed or injuries. You lose your shortstop and no one else can play shortstop, you're in trouble.
Right.
Or any position on the field. Just use shortstop for instance. But it is one of those things that if you lose a player for whatever reason, you have another guy that could fill in and play that. Until you get back on your feet and regroup.
Looking at some of the names that most recently, Ryan Grotjohn, a young man who's out of Arizona, outfielder Jan Hernandez, younger guys, or Hernandez not younger guys, I've seen AAA time, but there's guys out there. Talk about those two. Is there anything particular that stands out between either of those two guys that kind of complete your initial outfield look?
Yeah, I mean, flexibility too. I mean, Grotjohn could play infield and outfield. A AA player that's played really all over except for first base, and he might even played a little bit of first base. Hernandez is a guy that's what I consider, he's a 3rd round draft pick out of the Phillies organization, big prospect with them. I foresee him being kind of like a middle of the lineup bat. Veteran status, age-wise, dropped him down to an LS4. Anytime we get that opportunity, we try to really jump after that. And he was a good sign for us also.
Any other moves pending that we should know about? Anything coming up?
No, I mean, every day is something new. I mean, in a couple hours, something very exciting might happen. So we're just every day, we're just grinding like you are, Dan, and like everyone is in the front office and putting this thing together. So there's so many pieces. You talk about pieces of the puzzle and the whole organization is, so many people working so hard to put this thing together on and off the field. So there could be breaking news rather soon.
Good. Pitching staff wise, and I it's kind of been quiet in the front, but you've got some arms there. Really, I mean, just as a hot stove guy, I'm loving the bullpen makeup, possible starting makeup, but 2 guys jump out at me. Well, first off, getting Akeem Bostic back, who was so big in 19. I don't think fans remember because it's been so long ago, but having Bostic back, here's a guy that's thrown into a doubleheader. We had 2 doubleheaders in a week, won both ends of those, all 4 of those games, which in the end were very huge. He won 2 of the 4. He was a huge part of that stretch drive. Having a guy like that back, again, I'd forgotten how good he was. That's a big plus. Akeem Bostic, that's a big, hard-throwing righty.
Yeah, no, it's great. And another good person. He was a guy that obviously we all feel that he deserves an opportunity to be back with an organization, and hopefully that happens for him. If not before he gets in or shortly after. He's a guy that's working extremely hard to get that opportunity. Great kid. Hard worker and loyal. I mean, when, we haven't really stopped our conversation since he left us in 19 and helped him get a job in the 2020 campaign in Texas. They had that little pop-up league there and did well. And, but if I'm going to play independent baseball, I want to play it in Kansas City, and extremely loyal, and just glad to have him back because you can't have enough of those guys that want to be here.
A couple of guys that we talked about before we went on the air here, Stetson Ali and Aaron Brown. Those are 2 guys, and I talked about when we did the Hot Stove update. These are guys that had careers, obviously very solid pitchers, but as position players, not just 1 or 2 games, Both guys were accomplished at the plate. I believe Ollie was a second-round pick by the Pirates. Those guys, their position playing days over. Or could we see them position play transition to, doing a little bit of both? Or are you going to keep them pretty much in the pitching department?
Well, the pitching department is the plan. You never know how things are going to work out. The difference with our classifications, it's a little difficult just to pop a guy into the field to say that,
right,
yes, they're both accomplished minor league position players, but then their classification changes. So, and Stetson's,
right.
He's an LS2 on the pitching end, but
Right.
he would be a higher classification
Got you.
on the hitting end, and you would have to have that opening if you decided to use him. So it's not as easy as you might think.
Right.
Just, a guy goes down. Well, this guy could play, so just pop him in. Well, you might not have a classification for him as a position player where you do as a pitcher.
Wrapping things up, how are you as far as, where you like to be? Are you behind? Are you about where you expected to be as far as where this thing sits going forward into the, we sit here in the 1st of February?
Yeah, I mean, I never really judge it like that. We just keep on moving and just trying to, improve the club and putting the pieces that we need together that we feel that we need to be successful. So I don't know if we're behind or, from years past. I like the guys that we have on our roster. Right. I'll tell you that. So, is it going to get a little bit better? Is it going to refine a little bit? We hope so. But we like who we have, and we're just going to keep on working every day to try to get better.
Far as the gang, field staff pretty much staying the same, I would think. Is that how the plan is?
I hope so.
Coaching?
I talk to them on a regular basis, all of them. So I'm hoping that that's the case moving forward. I can't see why it wouldn't. Right. They're all excited about everything that's going on in Kansas City and the name change and getting back on the field and going at it again to try to put another good team together.
Final thing, it's been a while. I mean, you've not been in the dugout in a while. What's it going to be like to be back in that dugout again? I mean, it's been a while. I mean, you're used to the whole routine. Is it going to be pretty emotional for you to be back in that dugout?
Yeah, I mean, it's emotional right now talking to you, Dan.
Right. I did.
It's something that you never take for granted because you wake up and you feel very fortunate for the opportunities that you have and what you do. There's a lot of people that things were taken away from during this pandemic, and baseball was taken away from all of us. If it's in the broadcast booth like yourself or the fans or, the people that work at the ballpark and the players and managers and coaches, so it's definitely emotional just looking back on it, but we've gotten to the other side, I feel. And now we're just looking forward and just, trying to continue to stay focused on the 2021 season.
Joe, I appreciate your time as always, my friend. Best to your family. Don't shovel too much snow, and man, I can't wait to see you and give you a big hug, mate.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll be talking soon.
That's Joe Capietra. Appreciate it. There we go. How about the volume, Vaughn? I was doing a couple things at once there, but appreciate Joe Capietra hopping on, talking about the Monarchs. A couple of things I wrote down here. Just in first off, and I'll kind of work backwards here. You heard his last comments. He's an emotional guy. I'm an emotional guy. I think it comes off in my broad. Comes off when you talk to Joe. If you know him, and in the privilege I have of every night spending time chatting about baseball, and oftentimes those conversations, you can only talk so much baseball over the course of a 4-game stretch in Sioux City. You might want to talk about something else. I mean, how are things at home? Or it's interesting how so many things in life of our lives have paralleled, with having family and things like that. And so he mentions the emotional thing, and I can tell you the same feeling. I echo what Joe says. when he gets in that dugout step, it's going to be emotional. He was emotional talking to me. I'm emotional talking to him now. I'm emotional talking to you right now. I'm getting that real good vibe, that feeling, all that. So I think I echo that. Number two, this is a little interesting too. And I had not thought about this, and I love the fact that we're always learning. It sounds in principle that a guy like Aaron Brown, who is a left-handed reliever, who had a huge success at Pepperdine as an offensive player. We talked about Stetson Ali, who throws hard, 100 mile an hour, but also was a second-round draft pick, I believe, by the Pirates, and had some pretty impressive offensive numbers in the minors. What you don't remember, and this is something that we probably need to talk a little bit more about down the road, the roster classification changes when a guy goes from innings to games and at bats. Does that make sense? So, for example, and I off the top of my head, I can't tell you the exact cutoff, but rookies can only have pitched so many innings, can only have played in so many games, so many at bats, plate appearances, whatever. There's certain cutoffs to reach those classifications. Veterans obviously so many at bats, so many years, whatever. Pitching's the same way. Pitching's it's based upon innings. Some guy could pitch 5 years, but he might have been, maybe he spent 2 of those years on injury. I mean, it's possible. So it's all based upon innings. And I hadn't thought about that, but flipping a guy like Brown or Ali back to, hey, you know what? I'm going to throw him in there as a pitch hitter or as a DH or whatever will change your roster makeup and classification. And I've got the roster right here. And in right down this column right here, you see that column right there. There it is. That is your LS. That's your status. And so a guy like Ali's at LS2 could change his roster status based upon plate appearances. And I had not thought about that part either. I love I love to see this. I think this is a great testament when a family of a player, a former player for us, echoes just how much that experience meant to that player and that family. I mean, I think it's a really good example. And that came to mind too when he's talking about, Darnell Sweeney, for example, excuse me, and just how much, quality individuals. I'm not saying that managers all do it this way. I mean, a lot of guys do. I mean, there are a lot of really, I can tell you Greg Taggart, for example, and Gary, he's a guy that over the years will take that route, the quality individual route. I'm not going to tell you that it happens everywhere, but I think it happens a lot more than probably it doesn't. But in affiliated baseball, you're the farm director for insert team, and you're dealing with all these numbers. You got to put them in the depth chart at low A and high A and double A and rookie ball and all that. Yeah, when you scout a guy and you sign a guy in the draft or a free agent, you do your due diligence. You do want it, but you're not probably going to take as much consideration. I'm not saying you don't. You still want good people. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're going to spend a lot more time. It's not like the NFL Combine where those draft picks mean so much and they run you through a litany of test interviews and kick the tires on every middle aspect and test you can possibly take. Oh, besides your 40-yard dash time. In baseball, yes, there's some of that there. And the scout will write up, when the scout writes a player up, good kid, good family, summer job delivering, meals to shut-ins or whatever. I mean, there'll be things they'll throw in there. But by and large, if that kid can hit, switch hit, and throw 90 or whatever, gets good movement and all these new, sabermetrics odds and ends, that's all going to be pretty important. But I think Joe still really believes in quality people. And I think and it comes across in talking to him and talking about the roster makeup. Well, the show is Monarchs Live. I'm Dan Vaughn, voice of the Kansas City Monarchs. Glad you're along on a Wednesday as we do a little baseball talk. Of course, your questions and comments are always welcome. Some of you folks were chatting back and forth during the interview. I'm here also to answer anything you've got. First off, I'm going to put this graphic up for you because this is our world premiere. Our world premiere Monarchs Live right there on the graphic on the marquee there. pretty fired up about it myself. Before we get too far along, I want to do, I actually missed this a few minutes ago, and I want to pull this up. I want you guys to, I want to remind you again later on of becoming a Monarchs member. That's where it all starts. Pretty cool deal. And let me pull this up on the screen for you so you guys can see this. If you'll let me read it off to you. There we go. What you'll get as a Monarchs member, get a team jersey, Monarchs Baseball, 2 tickets to the opening homestand. Of course, those to be determined dates. 2 admissions to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. That in and of itself is a huge deal. Early access to season ticket options, $40 for general public. Early access to selected seat events. Place to the quarterly ownership circle newsletter as well. And there you go, Monarchs memberships. And they're available right now. And I think the easiest thing to do is just to kind of, some of you folks do want to call, but all that information is right here, monarchsbaseball.com. Go by and check it out. Mike, good to see you as well. Go Monarchs as well. I love it. I love it right there. Love it, love it, love it. Let's bring this down and hide this and become a Monarchs member there. Okay, I'm mentioning that one of the things I wanted to do on these shows, and really as we go forward, and we're going to have a feature of this, we've always done something like this on our broadcast, play-by-play, radio broadcast. I usually do I used to do when we were the T-Bones, this date in T-Bones history, or a T-Bones flashback, whatever we would do. Sometimes we'd go to, we may be in Sioux Falls. I would, maybe a great game against Sioux Falls, or maybe it was a historical story from Fargo. Maybe it was the Roger Maris story, his connection to Fargo, whatever it may be. We always had a segment on our pregame show and really tried to do that. Well, we're going to do the same thing, but do it more from the angle of the museum and the legacy that is the Kansas City Monarchs. And let's all kind of put our school clothes on. It's virtual time, right? So it is virtual time. So let's go ahead and give you that. Let's go ahead and give you this debut production value. Here we go. There we go. That's there I am right there. That's me. Monarchs 101. I don't know why the audio didn't come up. There's actually some really cool audio with this, and I don't know why it didn't come up, but oh well. There you go. Monarchs 101 with DB. Yes, we'll get to that in just a moment. One of the opening day date we released, and Morgan's right on there. She's really helping out big time. Morgan, thank you, by the way, for assisting on that, because I do see these as I was popping along here. Schedule still not been officially released, but it'll be the 3rd week of May, most likely. Don't know the exact dates. And I'll echo that. That pretty much is the window we expect. Give or take a day, but that's what we expect. I believe what I understand, and this is what I understand, just some chatter through executives, and actually this came from some back and forth with Cam Vale, who's the head of Baseball Australia. And we were chatting a bit last night, but I do know that some of this it's not about the Monarchs necessarily. It's about who's brought in, what teams are brought in, and that, of course, Saints went away and all that. So there's a lot, and there's also other things. We mentioned Canada earlier. That's also as well part of it too. I want to find this because I don't mind the graphic right there, but I actually have a little cool. I don't know if you guys will think it'll sound studious or not, but we'll see if it will. Let me see if I can find it here, because I thought I had it, and I guess I just didn't transfer it to the I did 2 things. I had the actual graphic, and then I had the actual little music ditty I did for this little segment here. If I can find it, let's see here. Oh, here it is. That'll be it right there. Let's try this. Let's see if this will work. Basically it's the same graphic, but I kind of want to play it because I want to see this. Does this make me sound sort of studious? Let's try it. Let's try it and see if it'll work here. And put this one in there and see what it works. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's what it was supposed to sound like, all right? And now, granted, the screen kind of froze on us there, but does that sound really like really Ivy League that I'm so there you go. There you go. Got me in a suit teaching the class. Monarchs 101 here. And I thought this was fitting that it is Super Bowl week and run it back time, chance for back to back for the Chiefs Kingdom. And by the way, pull the curtain back. In Dallas Fort Worth, they get a lot of love down here, a lot of love with the Chiefs. So pretty big deal. Did you know, and I didn't know this when I was researching, I'm actually reading a chapter about the first Negro League World Series. And there's a lot of background story here. And let me kind of give you a little bit. There was the Eastern Colored League and there was the National League, the Negro National League, which is where the Monarchs were original members of. We talked a little bit about on our our announcement show about, J.L. Wilkinson, his legacy, bringing the team from Des Moines and starting up the Monarchs brand. and there was a real rivalry between, let me pull my screen up there. There was a real rivalry. And it's something I've been reading a little bit about. I don't know how much you guys know about Rube Foster. Rube Foster really is the founding father of the Negro National League. And it was there in the YMCA there in Kansas City, down the Paseo, where he really founded that league. And there were two rival leagues, the Eastern League, which was the Eastern Colored League, what was called, run by a guy named Ed Bolden. Now, Ed Bolden and Rube Foster were very bitter rivals. They were guys that, and obviously you've got your league here in the East. He's got his league here in the Midwest. And there was a lot of what they would, for lack of a better thing, tampering going on. For example, Team A in the National League would sign a player, but the Eastern League could come in and undermine perhaps maybe a better deal. The contracts were really just basically, it was a handshake and an agreement. But there wasn't like, a major league contract now or what Jackie Robinson signed with the Dodgers. It was not, the ink was very erasable, so to speak. So there was a lot of rivalry back and forth. And there was a lot of that, tampering going on. Well, the two leagues basically agreed to stop the tampering. And with Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who at the time was the commissioner of baseball in 1924, of course, you've heard that name. He was very big in the Black Sox scandal just a few years prior. But the idea came up between the two leagues, really, to do a Negro World Series, the first World Series. And it is a very interesting story. This chapter I've been reading is very interesting. First off, I'm going to go with the spoiler alert. Monarchs won it, bringing the first ever professional championship to Kansas City. Now, that's before the Royals and before the Chiefs and before Sporting KC. Anybody else brought anything to town. That was the first, first championship brought to town. That was in 1924. The final game of that series was played in 1924. And here's the very interesting part of the story. And this is something we're going to talk a little bit about more and more. And I think if you've been to the museum, you've seen this. Getting playing grounds back in those days was a little tough. Obviously, because of the way things were. With the Plessy versus Ferguson separate but equal, if you were playing in New York, for example, and you want to play the Polo Grounds, well, as the Giants weren't playing there, then when you could play there. But the scheduling and the scheduling of these games of both the Monarchs and all the teams in both leagues, that was the big trick, was finding not only a schedule to play a game, but a place to play. And so just because you played in Kansas City doesn't mean always your ballpark was available. And oftentimes the white team had the rights to the ballpark. And that's unfortunately one of the problems that happened back in that time, was finding places to play, quality venue, what have you. So this was not a World Series, and it was with the Hilldale Athletic Club, also known, and this is interesting, they were called the Derby Daisies too. I did a little research on them. Hilldale in the Philadelphia area, their logo, what logo they had, very similar with the cursive with the Phillies, very similar colors, although they never really had an official logo or official colors. But the Hilldale Athletic Club, also known as the Derby Daisies, were the Eastern Colored League champion of 1924. The Monarchs were the Negro National League champions in 1924. And it wasn't a 5-game series. It wasn't a 7-game series. This thing was a 9-game series played over a course of 3 weeks, 4 cities, and a best of 9 for the 2 teams. How about that? Okay, so 3 weeks of a series, which would be great for TV, 4 cities, which is great for coverage, and a best of 9. Can you imagine that? A best of 9 game series. And what I kept thinking about reading about this story from the 1924 season, how it mirrored today. How in 2020, the American Association had to be creative and do some creative things to play baseball last summer. We talked a bit about a moment ago. I mentioned Australia. Australia's had to really move the goalpost the entire season. I mean, the schedule has changed in a week. Pandemic world we're in, we have to be flexible. And I think a great example is what happened in 1924. That this first ever World Series for the 2 Negro Leagues had to have some flexibility because they were not given, neither team had a full-blown home ballpark. Neither team had, the ability to play home and away. So they had to make the best of the situation in creativity. They took the game to the people, so to speak. Championship game, and a lot of this was, this whole World Series is really because J.L. Wilkinson, he was a pretty proud fella, and we're going to talk more about Rube Foster down the road. Rube was a very enigmatic character as well. They were very pro Negro National League. And then again, as I mentioned, Ed Bolden, the big rivalry between the 2 leagues went on for a number of years. And again, it became a pretty big spectacle. 45,857 fans, by my notes, saw those best of 9. And they 10-game slate, $52,000. Now, they were hoping they'd make a windfall. Now, I don't know what that conversion is today. $52,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but that's what they made in the ticket window. They were, trying to make money more than anything else. This is way before television rights. Radio was in its very, very infant years. And the most attended ball game was October 12th in Kansas City when 8,855 folks came to the ball game. Majority of the games were played at neutral sites. I mentioned games 1 and 2 were at the Baker Bowl in Philadelphia. Games 3 and 4 in Baltimore at Maryland's Baseball Park, which I believe was the first ballpark Babe Ruth played at when he was a youngster growing up in the minor leagues in Baltimore. I'm pretty sure it's just around the corner for what is Camden Yards now. Games 5 and 7, or 5, 6, and 7 at Muleback Field in Kansas City in the final stretch. We're going to talk more about that ballpark eventually. There's a lot of history there to get into future classes to talk about that. Again, in games 8 through 10 were played in Chicago at Shoreline Park, which I don't know much about that. But the playing at the neutral sites allowed the young league to continue to spread interest, which I think, again, in a situation where they were kind of shut out of playing in one venue, or 2 venues in this case, they took the game to the people and created interest, which, opportunity knocks sometimes in the strangest of ways. And I think I love the mirrored story about how the pandemic, the opportunities knocked here and there. Mark Brandmeier, for example, our owner, mentioned this to us at the museum that day 2 weeks ago tomorrow, that the opportunity basically knocked in probably the rebranding of the Monarchs came about because of the pandemic. Opportunity. And we're seeing that right here, opportunity happening there as they played those neutral sites. Again, it started October 3rd, and Monarchs won 6-2 in the first one. The Eastern Colored League team rebounded in games 2, 4, and 5. They had a 3-1 lead of the Monarchs. The Monarchs looked to be in trouble, except the Monarchs won a 13-inning tie ball game. Monarchs got not even win it. Tie ball game in 13 innings, and they threw that game out. Thus, they had the 10 games. So that's why they just tossed that result out. Kansas City did won the next, actually, they were down 3-1, won the next 3 ball games by 1 run, and needed extra innings in game 7 to jump ahead and win that one. And this is another interesting story, too. with a series 4-3. Hilldale pulled out a 5-3 victory in Game 9, but the Monarchs came back in that Game 10 and won 11-0 in that even series and won it going away. And here's the thing, Jose Mendez, which you may have heard his name before in our videos, or the really cool relaunch video we did, he played after arm surgery. Now I'm going to do a whole thing on this guy this summer. Jose Mendez came back, had arm surgery. Let's face the facts. In 1924, there wasn't a lot of surgeons repairing, doing rotary cuffs and transferring ligaments, and you blew your arm out, you were done. I mean, heck, in the 1950s, my dad blew his knee out, he was done. It ain't like it is now. Now you can get rebuilt back together bionically, but that wasn't the case. But Mendez, who probably the most heralded arm ever out of Cuba, was phenomenal. He came in and pitched in relief, picked up what would have been a save at the time. It wasn't really qualified as a save. It wasn't written down as a save, but he basically got a save. Mendez, he had the arm surgery the season before, in the early part of the season. He allowed 3 singles and a walk in the Monarchs' 11-0 win. And he is one of the more famous names we're going to talk about that maybe you never heard of. The Daisies, though, would not be down for long. They lose that first, the Hillsdale Daisies, lose that first World Series. They came back and won the next year, kind of revenge tour, if you will, the 1925 World Series. 2 years later, they championship ceased. We're going to talk a bit about that, too. There is some history there. But October of 1924, Kansas City Monarchs won the first ever Negro League World Series over the Hillsdale Ball Club from around Philadelphia. And exciting 11-0 fashion in Game 10 of a best of 9. Of course, one game was tossed out because they probably ran out of daylight, I'd imagine. But there's a lot of history in that story that we're going to get to down the road. We're going to talk about a lot of those little odds and ends. Some of those names you may have heard, but the rivalry was born. And the Monarchs' legacy was born right there, championship caliber. And the first championship brought to Kansas City Monarchs in 1924. And that is, folks, right there. Let's try it again. That is your Monarchs 101 with DV. Here we go. All righty. I love my jams. All right. Thanks for joining me there on that one right there. Again, the show is Monarchs Live. Dan Vaughn voiced the Kansas City Monarchs, rounding third, heading for home on your Wednesday. A couple more things to get to as well. I want to give you guys this. Of course, this is our world premiere show. Oh, I didn't give you this. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Let me pull this back up for you. This actually would have been something I would have put up for you guys. This was the Monarchs Championship Club from 1924. There you go. That's them right there. And we'll get to more of that legacy as well down the road. I meant to put that up during the chat a moment ago, but again, appreciate the time there on the Monarchs 101. Couple of things going on too that I want to give you guys. And let me give you a couple of little odds and ends here. Great bells and whistles. Thank you very much. You have to say that. Let's see here. Yes, I want to show you guys this. 2 things. As we give me just a moment here. I'm loading them in the system. I want to give you guys this video, and I want you guys to, this is from my archives, my collection. And I'm going somewhere with this, so let me go ahead and just pop this up here and play this in real time here for you. Here we go. Oops, sorry about that. All right, make some noise. Yay! Thank y'all for being here. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all. Thank you all. Let's do it again next week, right? All right, right there. That was our send-off to Sioux City in 2019. I've also got a whole collection of video from the 2018 American Association Championship. And you're asking me, why am I playing that? Why am I digging up that off my archives? Well, and I want to show you this too. Safe travels. This was actually from the opening road trip 2019 as well. And that is what I'm so thankful for, though. Those folks that were sending us off, getting this little goodie package right here. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because how much that group means to me. And that group would be the host parents, host families. Cheryl Reitmeyer does a phenomenal job running that group. And they're looking for volunteers, looking for you, folks out there. If you know somebody that's interested in doing that, I'm going to give you some more details on that. But I'm so thankful for what they do, putting our players up. Even, for me, I mean, and for Joe, even, it means a lot to Joe. I mean, we both are, get teary-eyed about stuff like that. But, to be handed a goodie bag or a goodie to-go thing on the road and having those players that come from miles, I used a guy like Roy Morales, for example, comes from Puerto Rico. There's a long, long way from home. And his host parents, the Greers, for example, who's have been his host parents last time, have become family to him. And it's over and over again. You see this over and over again. And I just want to give a shout out and also remind you folks, and I give it to you right here, that the host parent program is alive and well. And here is what you're going to be looking at and what we'd like for you to do. If I can pull this down for you here real quickly here. Particularly here. There we go. All the benefits that the season ticket holders get. You get 2 season tickets to the game, end of season host family party and on-field recognition. And there you go. You see the refrigerator there. It's, of course, a ball player's best friend, I can tell you. You got that Monarchs fridge right there stocked with snacks. But they're just more than snacks. They're also giving players a place to sleep, a place to relax, to unwind, safety. I can even think of a time 2 years ago when one of our interns, Luke Schrock, had a host family. And Luke was Luke was, had appendicitis, and if it wasn't for his host parents, kid would have been, who knows what happened. Yeah, and I put this up too. And what I was going to tell you guys, the host families, and I probably mentioned, you get all that and much more. And reach out to Cheryl; she'll let you on everything. I'll put the email up in a moment as well. But yeah, please reach out to Cheryl. And I would have segued with that because I appreciate what they do, and I know Joe does, and I know the players do. Having those host parents, that we do appreciate that. Thanks, Morgan, for the add-on. But yeah, that's what you're going to get. And then reach out to Cheryl, and we bring it up for you one more time there. And there you go. And and I'll put the email up for you as well one more time to give you a good idea of where to head. So there we go. And there's her email address right there. Check it out. And Brad, Brad, you are right on there. And Brad was the one of the voices of the Cleveland Railroaders, our rivals in the association. I agree. I know those lifelong relationships. I think of the Greers, Don and Bill. I believe, and I don't know if you've seen this, a couple of years ago, one of the stations did a feature on them and all the jerseys that all the players they've had over the years, and they've become parts of their family. And it's great because I'll see, for example, Christian Correa, who played with us a couple of years ago, was playing down in Columbia. And I believe it was the Greers. Donna may have retweeted, shared a Facebook post of the Colombian championship game that he was playing in down there. I mean, they're still part of the family, and I've been tipped off to many little things, and you'll see it on social channels all the time. You'll see our host families reaching out. And they reach out to me, and I appreciate it. But yeah, Brad, you are right on. It's definitely worth the experience, and I'm so thankful for what they do, and I know Joe is, and just a big deal. So if you're interested, check them out. And again, go to Cheryl's email, and she'll take care of you. She's got it sorted. I'm telling you, she is on top of things, and she is the wanted to talk to. There we go. There's your email right there for Cheryl. Right, mine right there, and she gets you taken care of. Also, some of the host families reach out to me every holiday. And yes, wonderful, and they do. I can tell you right now, when my wife and I got diagnosed with COVID last week, those folks that reached out, there were a dang near every host family that I know reached out to us, and that meant a lot to it, and not just to me, but to my wife as well. And that means a lot. My wife comes to it when she's in town. She teaches, and once school's over, she packs up and heads to Kansas City. It's our home. It's our baseball home. And I'm on the air doing my thing. She'll sit with the host parents often. That's her. She's got her own bell. I don't know what they're going to be doing for a future thing, but she had their own bell when they had the bells going. But that's part of her family. And she checks in with them and hugs. And I guarantee you there'll be a lot more hugs this year than there were in years past, because we hadn't seen each other. And I think something that Joe said as well, as I kind of close things here, is the things we take for granted. We do that. And I can tell you right now, as a broadcaster, I miss you guys. I miss the interaction, being at the ball yard, all that. And I just don't think we realize, and like Joe even said it, I don't think we take it for granted. But having, gone through the COVID battles myself and seeing the family go through it and so many friends, and the fact that I haven't been in the booth and chatted with you guys on the air, and we haven't played a game, and all the things we do, I don't think we take it for granted necessarily. But if we do, which is probably human of us, we do kind of get slapped back to reality, realizing how much we miss it. We miss the fellowship and the love and compassion of the host families and our coworkers, and just the feeling you get at the ballpark. I mean, just the feeling at the ballpark. Talking about the Monarchs brand, that feeling you get, it's a pretty cool feeling. Okay, the show continues here. I'm going to wrap things up here shortly as we're wrapping it up. Yeah, yes, the wife does edit student game stories. Appreciate that, honey. A couple of more items as well. Mention the members. And if you're not on the website, you need to be. There is, and you may have seen it on the Open. There actually had one of the pieces of merch on the website at monarchsbaseball.com. That's your resource right now. Go there, check it out. There's merch, member information. Get on there. And let's just put it this way. Operators are standing by. How about that? But definitely would love to have you guys check that out. And again, our show going to get kicking and going here. And I will update you guys on Twitter, Facebook, and doing the little live Facebook breaking news segments. We'll do those because Joe expects to have more coming. But the show, right now, we're looking at every 2-week window right now. Then we'll go to every week. And we're working on the schedule now. It's it's a work in progress, but you're going to see this eventually. We get to that point where we go every week and every Wednesday. And eventually we will transition to the in-season coverage, where we'll be doing every Monday through Friday at right around lunchtime, chatting a bit about the game and the night before and all that. So we're going that direction here at Monarchs Live, and looking forward to chat, meeting players, staff. One more segment we got coming too, I'm looking forward to bringing to you is Meet Your Monarchs. Not just their staff, but your players, but both. But we're going to be meeting our new staff. We have a lot of new faces. We also have some familiar faces. We're visiting with those folks going forward in our shows coming up. We'll also take a look around the league. We're going to be chatting a bit with our brethren across the league, guys like Brad Allred, who I just mentioned about a moment ago. We'll be getting those as well. And getting more of the news and notes. Quickly, too, checking the transaction wire. This is from yesterday. Victor Roach was released by Chicago. Big piece there. Gary Saucher signed Ryan Thurston. Milwaukee signed Manuel Boscan. Had a pretty good year for them, didn't he? 2 years ago. Miguel Gomez, an infielder as well. Winnipeg got Jay Gonzalez, Logan Hill, a good-looking outfielder, and Mitch Lamson, but a mainstay lefty for their pitching staff for a number of years. And then Fargo signed former KCer Jordan George. That was a transaction sheet from yesterday. What we expect coming forward, well, we're going to keep it coming to you. All the good stuff, all the news, notes, breaking news, schedule news, you name it, player signings, all that on our breaking news. And, of course, right here on Monarchs Live, we're going to give you all the all the interviews and all the things that you guys want, and try to get your questions and comments, which right now it's that last call. Last call for questions and comments. You want to fire them off? I'm right here. I will see what I can do to answer them. Quickly telling you right now, there are 10 pitchers on the roster, 4 infielders on the roster, 3 outfielders, and 2 catchers. And if you have any questions about the roster or anything else about the ball club, here to answer those questions right now. A bit of a last call, if you will. A bit of a last call on that, but kind of let you guys hash that out. But it is your show. This is your chance to talk about the Monarchs and what's going on, and just questions, comments, and just general love for the whole thing, right? How about that? And give you guys a little last call on that, and move on away, because we're just about the top of the hour. We've done an hour. It's 1:00 Central Time, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the next round. Again, 2 weeks' time, we'll announce again. The calendar is kind of screwed because we have spring break as well, and I've also the crazy thing for me is I've also committed to some teaching days already, and then the COVID thing hit, so some of those got wiped out and some of them didn't. So I've got to really just move the schedule around and not have the Wednesdays open and all that. So I'm working on that. But yeah, 2 weeks time, back at you with another edition of Monarchs Live. Again, big thanks to Morgan for all her fine work. With any questions, comments that you all may have, a big thanks to you all watching us wherever you're watching us. I mean, it's the reason I'm touched every time I see you guys, just how important you are. I believe we're the best because of y'all. I really believe that. And what we've got going on here, all because of you all, the best fans. I mean, I really, really believe that. And it's something I talk about every time we get this point of the show. Be better fans tomorrow than we were today. Let's show more love. Let's continue to be better. It's going to get better. We're going to fight through this, and we're going to have a great 2021 season at the ballpark. Virtual hugs. Man, I love y'all. I can't wait to see y'all in person. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all of the channels. They're all there. Of course, you're on Facebook right now, and of course, the website right there. You can definitely check us out. It's that time of the show, folks, where I got to roll the close. It's always the time but I love the jam and music. So enjoy it. See you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being a part of things, and go Monarchs.